I'd like to remind everybody that this is about tax efficient Roth conversions. And I know taxes for some is not a happy subject, but when we're talking about tax savings and reducing tax liability, it all of a sudden becomes a very exciting topic. And I know this one's going to be exciting today. I got a little bit of a peek into Alex Hill's presentation, so I think this is going to be a real good one. Alex is with Athene. He's the business development wholesaler with Athene. Got a great relationship with him and that organization. One of the top selling annuity carriers out there in the business. And then today joining us, we also have Derek Easton. He's a annuity sales VP with DMI with 13 years experience. So I would urge you, if you have questions about this concept, at the end of this call, I'm going to share his contact information with you so you can reach out to him with any questions you might have. He can get real creative with you. So I would say if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A function, the chat function, whatever makes you happy. If you want to raise your hand, we will get back to you. If we can during the presentation, we will, if it works out. But more than likely, we'll have to answer questions at the end of the presentation. So with all that, Derek, did you want to say hello or?
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, thanks for that intro. Excited to see this awesome presentation from Alex. I think a lot of you are going to find it useful in your practices. And like Glenn said, if you want more specifics afterwards, don't hesitate to hit me up. I'd love to chat with you and help you grow your business. So I don't want to take up too much time, but with that, I guess I'll turn it over to Alex.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks.
Cool. That puts me on the clock. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Much appreciated. Just want to correct one thing Glenn said. He said we're one of the top carriers. We've actually been the top carrier the last 3 years in a row. So, just wanted to correct the record here.
I shouldn't have been so conservative about that statement.
But beyond that, I do appreciate you guys joining. I do appreciate you guys having me on. What we're going to be discussing today is, the road to tax advantaged income, right? Partial Roth conversions and how to, most efficiently use your client's taxable income. So we're going to kind of get into it here. This is just a brief disclosure page that we can reference back to later when Glenn sends us out to DMI University. And I believe the recording will also be sent out afterwards. So a couple questions here to consider, guys. Will taxes be higher in the future? We know that definitively they will be, right? Taxes are at a historic all-time low. So a couple things to think about regarding this. Like I just said, all-time low. The deficit remains an issue, right? The federal deficit constantly rising, constantly growing bigger, going the wrong direction. Future Social Security challenges. We hear all the time, oh, well, will so-and-so be able to hit Social Security? We've seen what they've done in France where they've raised the age of Social Security, doing the same things potentially over here. Non-spousal inherited IRAs are highly taxed. So, if you do have an inherited IRA from a brother, cousin, sister, whoever it may be, those are taxed at an incredibly high rate. And then same thing right here, estate taxes may be on the rise as well. So all these different things where the government wants to get your money, anything that they can sneak their hands into, they certainly will. A couple other things here. So some escalating taxes. So is there a strategy that may help mitigate escalating taxes? The answer to that is yes, right? Partial Roth conversion. So what we can do is we can actually have your client pay their taxes now on this tax deferred income, their IRA, 401k, whatever these tax deferred statuses are. You can pay the tax now, convert that to a Roth, and then at that point, we're paying the lower tax versus in the future where that tax may be higher. So what is tax efficiency? It's helping clients understand the best time to time to pay taxes and to minimize their overall tax liability. Bottom line, no one likes paying taxes, right? I know at the end of the year when I get that statement come through, I put it off as long as I can. My wife says, Alex, we gotta get this taken care of. I'm like, I don't know, but I don't want to bust out the checkbook. So, no one wants to pay these taxes. I'll never forget when my little brother got his first job. He said, "Dad, what's all this stuff they're taking out? My paycheck's like cut in half." I was like, "Yeah, dude, welcome to reality." So no one likes paying taxes, right? So what we can do is we can help minimize that liability overall and make sure that everything's being much more efficient, working smarter, not harder, right? Tax efficient versus taxable. And then helping clients make control of when they pay their taxes. So, with an IRA, when you pull those taxes, that is when it comes out. However, if we can do that now, pay those taxes early when taxes are at an all-time low, that may be the best bet for your clients depending on what their setups are. So there's 3 different types of income. There's taxable income, there's tax deferred income, and then there's tax-free income. So taxable income, that's like what you make day to day. Tax deferred, that would be something like your 401k, where you put money in as it grows. You don't pay those taxes now, but when you pull it, at that time it does become taxable. And then there's truly tax-free income, something like a Roth money where, you've already paid that tax. So when you make those withdrawals, you're not having to pay any taxes on that. So let's take a look at what a Roth conversion strategy may look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert IRA assets to a Roth IRA over time. Again, paying taxes today in exchange for tax-free growth and tax-free income later. So we're going to pay those taxes now up front, and then that way down the road, we don't have to pay for them. Target age that we're going to be looking at for people is ages 60 to 73. We want to make sure we're doing this before RMDs come, right? Because once RMDs come, we have to start eating into that taxable money, and then we have to start pulling it out little by little, whittling it down. And the third thing here, convert Roth IRA when marginal tax brackets are lower, right? So like I said, guys, we've had an all-time low for taxes, and let's take advantage of it while we can. And then this big one, this is a really important one here to consider. Control taxes by converting just enough to stay in the lower tax bracket. So if the tax bracket steps up at $100,000, your client's making 95. Maybe we only want to convert 5,000 as opposed to 6, right? Because that extra $1,000 is going to be moved into the higher tax bracket. So just a couple things to consider. All right, so a couple other considerations here. So do you have clients have taxable accounts to pay the conversion costs? So when they convert that money, they can take a withdrawal from one account and then have that fully taxable. That will pay for that conversion. Are they going to need their traditional IRA for retirement income? If so, when? So if they are going to need that traditional IRA, when are they going to trigger that income? So with the Roth conversion, it's a 5-year period before that money is truly tax-free. Any withdrawals made on it prior to the end of that 5-year period, it goes right back to that traditional tax deferred status where, it's no longer tax-free. So if they need that income, in 3 years, this may not be the best strategy. But if we're looking 7, 8, 9 years down the road, then hey, we start making these conversions, we start making these plays, these moves, then we can potentially put your client into a better situation in that scenario. And then again, will tax rates be higher at distribution versus contribution? Meaning when your clients are taking that money out of their IRA, that 401k, are their tax brackets going to be higher than what they were earlier, or will they be lower now or then? So let's look at the strategy. One thing to remember, guys, this is not for every client, right? A financial professional must evaluate this strategy on a case-by-case basis. Same thing with any product that you may be writing for a client. What may work for Billy may not work for Sally, right? Everyone has different plans. Everyone has different needs. We need to make sure we keep that in mind when we're looking at these Roth conversion strategies. So we want to make sure we're doing this for your client, right? So what's in it for them? Well, for one, tax-free growth, right? So all that money that they convert into that Roth is going to grow tax-free, meaning when they pull it out, it's going to be tax-free distributions. Again, it has to be in effect for 5 years before that is tax-free. But when they pull that money out, 5 years, that's all tax-free money. So, typically if someone takes money from their IRA, they get 1099 at the end of the year and say, hey, you owe taxes on X amount of money. However, with a Roth portion of funds, that is fully tax-free. There's no taxes implied. So that $10,000 is just that, it's $10,000. It's not actually $8,000 because, there's 20% taxes on it. And then another big thing to remember here is RMDs are not required with a Roth IRA because it's already been paid taxes. The whole point of an RMD is the government wants you to pull those funds out so that you can pay the taxes on it so that they can get their cut, right? Well, if you've already paid your taxes, then there's no mandatory withdrawals. So your client doesn't have to actually pull that fund out year over year. They can actually let it sit and continue to grow in that tax-free status. Now, for their beneficiaries, what are the big plus sides? Again, tax-free distribution, right? So anyone who has an IRA, maybe they have a relative who's, since passed and they were left their IRA, that's fully taxable, right, guys? Because it's been taxed for the entire time. So 100% of that is taxable. So that means, that $500,000 IRA your uncle left you is now all of a sudden $250,000. That's a big hit. But with the Roth IRA, that's actually going to be fully tax-free. So that 500 actually stays 500, which is a big win. So a couple other things to consider here. One thing to look at, where your client lives matters. So some states may partially or totally exclude retirement income, including Roth IRA distributions from state income tax. Because RMDs are not required for both Roth IRAs other than inherited IRAs, your client may be able to pass on more savings to the heir. So this is what I was just talking about a second ago, guys. Instead of that 500,000 being whittled down to 250, that 500,000 actually stays at 500,000, which is a huge thing for your client's beneficiaries. And then inherited Roth IRAs generally don't incur any income taxes, which once again can benefit your heirs, because again, we're not going to bump them up in their tax bracket when they have to do their filing for their taxes. Taxes paid on a Roth IRA conversion may help reduce the size of a taxable estate. Married couples filing jointly with a MAGI greater than 250,000 may be subject to a 3.8 Medicare surtax, and there may be costs to consider when converting. Again, guys, this isn't for everyone. We shouldn't be trying to throw the same playbook at every single person, right? Everyone needs to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, on a client-by-client basis. So there may be additional costs to consider when converting, like again, are you stepping up in the tax bracket? There we go. So Roth conversion, post-tax cuts, and the Jobs Act. 1, lower tax brackets. Like I said, clients who do not plan on to spend their IRA assets in retirement are more likely to be in the same or higher tax bracket in their RMD. So think about that. If you have a client who they really don't need their IRA, they really don't need their 401k to live on in retirement. They've done well investing on the side. They've had high paying jobs, their whole life, and they're doing great. So really any of that money that's in there, any RMDs they're going to take, they're only going to take those RMDs because they have to, not because they actually really need that money year in and year out. So they're likely not going to be changing tax brackets over time. I know the general, theory, general consensus is that, oh, hey, when you get into retirement, you'll actually be in a lower tax bracket. Your needs will be lower. You won't have this bill. You won't have that bill. What we're finding is more and more is people are actually staying in a very similar tax bracket that they are already in, especially these higher net worth clients where, they really don't need this money. So those RMDs are really going to be very similar tax bracket. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier, where if tax bracket is currently lower now and that's going to increase in the future, even if they're in that same bracket, they may be paying less taxes up front than they would down the road. It's very similar to, going to Costco, right? You go to Costco, you got to buy 50 rolls of toilet paper as opposed to 12, right? But ultimately you're paying less per roll, even though you're paying more up front. So it's a very similar deal with Roth conversion. So partial Roth conversions with Athene. So this is going to be just a quick kind of case study, something to consider, really kind of spell out the benefits here for you guys. So we have John and Jane, a married couple, both age 65, combined their annual income of $105,000 in 2002, and they expect a very similar income this year. Married, filing jointly, their expected 2023 tax bracket is 22%, and John has $250,000 in IRAs. So a couple of assumptions we're going to make about John and Jane here. Again, they expect to remain in that same 22% tax bracket now through retirement. And then we're going to anticipate that John's going to pass away at age 90. So here's a quick look at this case study. So John and Jane's traditional IRA can be taxed 3 ways. When funds are withdrawn, whether for income or as RMDs. So like I said, an IRA is fully taxable. That is money that's been growing tax deferred the entire time. The government has not had a chance to touch it. So as soon as you pull any money out, all of that money is taxable. When reinvested into a taxable account, so if they move that to a different type of account from an IRA to an unqualified account, that again becomes taxable money. And then the third place it can be taxed is at death when, at death when the traditional IRA is passed to John's beneficiaries, in this scenario, his wife. So if his beneficiaries take a lump sum death benefit, well, that's where it's going to be taxed right there at John's death. If they stretch that death benefit over 10 years or life, if the beneficiary is an eligible designated beneficiary, if the beneficiary is Jane, John's surviving spouse, Jane can take either a lump sum death benefit, again, taxed at John's death, or she can actually continue that traditional IRA in her name, tax when funds are withdrawn, whether for income or RMDs based on Jane's own age. So once again, at that time, this money's been fully deferred the entire time. So as soon as any of that comes out, Uncle Sam wants his cut, right? So the third time is as an inherited IRA, tax when funds are withdrawn on RMDs for John's age, as opposed to Jane's. So partial Roth conversion. So without a Roth conversion, here's what the numbers would look like for John's traditional IRA. So he would have paid $80,000 total taxes on RMDs through age 90, $27,000 of taxes paid on the growth of the reinvested RMDs, $72,000 of taxes paid by beneficiaries on remaining traditional IRAs. So that's a total of $180,000 taxes paid on that initial $250,000 IRA. That's a pretty substantial cut for the government to grab, right? $180,000. Well, let's kind of take a look at a couple other scenarios, but please note with this, so no withdrawals were taken from John's IRA except for the RMDs. John began taking RMDs at age 73 when he was, again, mandated, right? Taxes on the RMDs were paid from other funds. So this actually, the taxes did not come out of this IRA. They were actually paid elsewhere. The RMDs are reinvested in after-tax rate return of 3.75. All beneficiaries take a lump sum distribution, and there's no change to the tax code. So we're just assuming that things kind of stay the same throughout. Now, what's it look like if we do some Roth conversion? So John and Jane like the idea of tax-free income, but they can't afford the income tax that would result from converting the entire $250,000. So this is actually a big problem that a lot of people had. So Roth conversions at Athene, we've done Roth conversions since jump. However, partial Roth conversions, we've only actually been doing for the last 2 years or so, and it has been a huge win, a huge success. So, the big problem before was, exactly this scenario here. People like the idea of Roth conversions. They like the idea of having that tax-free income down the road. But hey, I can't increase my, my income this year from $100,000 to $350,000 in this scenario. So I can't possibly be bumped that and, pay that tax hit. So what we can do is we can actually do a partial Roth conversion. So in this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to convert $40,000 over the next 8 years here. And then at that time, we're not really bumping them up in brackets. And we're also, not dramatically increasing their taxable income, which is the big thing. So they can afford the, tax hit on an additional $40,000 a year. They can't afford a tax hit on $250,000 a year, which again is where that partial Roth conversion takes place. So they're going to convert $40,000 again, like I said, over the next 8 years, and the 8th year being $9,810 for a total of $289,000 in Roth money at the end of that 8-year period. So again, a couple things to note: assuming pre-tax growth of 5% on the IRA assets. No withdrawals are made from John's traditional IRA, again, except for the RMDs that he's expected to make. Taxes on the converted amounts are paid from other funds, and there is no changes to the tax code. Again, big thing here is the taxes on the converted amounts are paid from other funds. So, we're not decreasing this IRA as it goes. We're actually pulling from other funds to pay that additional tax bump. So with a series of partial Roth conversions, here's what the taxes would look like for John's traditional IRA. So $289,000 of traditional IRA converted to Roth, $63,000 total paid taxes on the amounts converted. That's a $100,000 tax saving, guys, and a 55% reduction by performing the Roth conversions. So we have saved the clients over $100,000 and their beneficiaries over $100,000 just by converting these from traditional IRA accounts to a Roth account. Now when the beneficiary takes that distribution, guess what? No taxes. They've already been paid. Any money that John and Jane want to pull out for this, that, and the other, once again, no taxes paid on those distributions because the taxes were already paid up front. So this is a huge value that we can bring to your clients when possible. So again, this is just a quick look at the tax brackets for 2022 and 2023. As you can see here, they do go up. So 2022, we look at that 12% tax bracket ranging from $10,000 to $41,000. In 2023, that goes up to $44,000. this is a trend we can anticipate to see continue, where the tax bracket is going to continue to get bumped and people are going to continue to have to pay more and more in taxes. So benefits to the Roth conversions here. Well, for the client, pretty simple, right, guys? Tax-free money to use in retirement with the flexibility of choices, and also, tax-free money to leave on to their heir or their beneficiary. For you guys, the financial professional, be the hero your client's needs. Happy clients equals more referrals, right? Who tells their friends? Happy people tell their friends, right? Oh, I worked with Glenn. He was a rock star. He helped me, reduce my tax burden by such and such amount. I'm going to have tax-free income in my retirement. It's a great deal. So, more happy clients equals more referrals. Again, Roth conversion laddering, your clients are counting on you. Now, one thing I will say about this, guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering, well, what products can I use this in? What products is this a good fit for? I would say very similarly to, like I was saying earlier, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, right? Roth conversion is not for everyone. Each product is not for everyone. I will say this, we can do partial Roth conversions on 100% of our products. So whatever it is you may sell, whatever fit your client may have, whatever need they may be looking to fill, we can do that Roth conversion on any of our products. Where we see this being a really great fit is particularly with our Agility 10 or our Agility 7, where the client can convert that portion year over year. And then at the end of that 10-year period, they can trigger that lifetime income. And when we do our partial Roth conversions, what we do is we actually create a child contract that's going to mirror the parent contract. So you're in a 10-year policy. At the end of year one, you convert a portion of that funds. That's going to mirror, and that's now still going to be two separate 9-year policies remaining, right? So with that, that means at the end of that 10-year period, let's assume we convert $10,000 over the next 10 years. So we have 10 different policies that you can trigger income on, and you can actually ladder your own income that way. Say maybe the first 3 policies, you're going to trigger those income right away, and that's going to be enough for you to live on. And then over time, you say, oh, hey, you know what? I could use a pay raise. You trigger 2 more incomes. And you do the same thing over and over. And while everything else is happening, those other 5 accounts are continuing to grow. And we can use that death benefit on the Agility, on those other things, again, tax-free. So huge benefits here with this Roth conversion. So a couple other things to consider, guys. If tax rates on distribution are greater than tax rates during contribution, it's a great opportunity. Use traditional IRA assets that won't be needed for retirement. So again, this is a great value for people who are, they're really not going to look to touch their IRA or their 401k in retirement. They've got other retirement assets they're looking to use. Taxable accounts exist to pay for the conversions. Using savings that are traditional IRA, 401k when marginal tax rates are the highest, and then convert Roth IRAs and marginal tax rates are lower, if that's 60 to 70 age range. And then again, take advantage of lower tax bracket in retirement by converting just enough to stay in your current bracket. So if we go back to, I'm going to pull up that other slide here real quick. If we go back to this tax bracket slide, in this scenario right here, if your client's making $40,000 a year, maybe you only want to convert another 1,775, right? Because we don't want to push them into this next bracket where that next portion is actually taxed higher. So it's a similar concept. Again, I don't know that'd be a great fit at that 12% tax bracket. So let's look here at this 24. They're making $160,000 a year. So they only want to convert 10,000. If they convert 20, then 10 of it will be taxed at this rate, and the next 10 will be taxed at this rate. So we want to make sure we can keep them within that same tax bracket that they're already in, and not push them into having a higher tax burden in the future. And then on top of that, guys, we do have some great sales and marketing resources to go alongside with this. I do believe Maureen will be sending it out in email after the fact. The FAQ is going to be, just a basic, how we kind of do things, when it works, how it works, step-by-step process guide, and then a partial Roth conversion, just kind of walking your client through the concept, how exactly it works, the benefits of. So these are some really great materials. But overall, I really did just want to say you guys have the best partners to work with here between DMI and Athene. Like I said, Athene, #1 carrier, not just top carrier, #1 carrier. And then DMI, these are some of the best people that I work with in the industry. I couldn't be more happy to be here on this webinar with you guys and with them. So with that, I'm going to open this up to questions. Do we have any at this time?
Yeah, we do have a few. Maureen, would you like to cover that? And I didn't introduce Maureen. I apologize. Maureen Walker is our content strategist, and I appreciate everything she does for us. So she's going to answer or offer up the questions here today.
Thanks, Glenn. So we have a couple of questions. I'll start with the top one, which actually has an abbreviation that I just figured out. So can you do a Roth conversion on a beneficiary IRA money that you now have to cash in within 10 years?
So I don't know how other carriers do it. Unfortunately, with Athene, we cannot take any beneficiary IRAs that are not spousal. And then as far as those go, we actually do not allow for Roth conversion within those. So I don't know how any other carriers, but with us, we actually wouldn't take any beneficiary IRA money anyway, unfortunately.
Okay, next question. Can anyone do a conversion no matter how much money they may be earning while working?
Absolutely. Anyone can convert their traditional IRA into a Roth. Again, they just have to pay the taxes on the conversion. And again, if assuming it's a good fit for them, right?
Right, and then that laddering strategy that we were talking about would probably
Correct.
come into play a lot with
100%.
figuring that out. And then last question that's posted right now is, what if there are multiple beneficiaries? Would they be able to convert their share of the IRA into their own Roth?
So again, that would be kind of with the beneficial IRA type deal, where unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to take those funds. The only funds we can't take are spousal. So assuming it's the spouse who's inheriting this, she rolls it into her own IRA at Athene. At that point, we can convert those funds. But again, any non-spousal beneficial IRAs, we're unable to take, unfortunately.
And that is it. Thank you for the, one more. Is there a limit to how much you can convert in a year?
Off the top of my head, I don't believe that there is a limit on the top end. The minimum, I believe, is 1,000. That is, again, that would be covered in that FAQ. Let me see if I can pull that up here. But I believe the minimum is 1,000, and I don't believe we have a maximum on the top end. It's all about what the client can afford to basically pay in the in the taxes on the backside. And the minimum is actually $2,000. I apologize.
We do have one other question. So if we do a Roth conversion, what exactly are we converting it to? Is basically, and I know you mentioned the Agility 10. If you want to touch on what the Agility 10, what makes that the Agility 10?
Yeah, so I think the question is what are we converting it to? So what we're doing is we're converting traditional IRA money or traditional deferred tax status money to a different qualified tax status of Roth IRA. So an IRA is a deferred tax status, like I said, where basically no taxes are paid up front on any of the gains. However, 100% of the distribution is taxable. Now, what we're doing in this scenario is we're actually converting it from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. So what we're doing is we're actually paying the taxes up front and getting ahead of the curve while taxes are at an all-time low, as opposed to paying it on the back end when the client's taking any distributions. So we're actually converting it to a Roth IRA is what we're converting it to. Now, as far as, which products we can use it with, like I said, we can actually use that in any of our products. I think the Agility is maybe the best fit for the most clients because it's a really flexible product with a lifetime income built in with no fee, enhanced death benefit built in with no fee, and then great accumulation rates. However, like I said, this can be used with any of our products. So there's no right or wrong place for it to fit, just what's the right or wrong place for your client's fit.
Alex, did you find that there was any effect of the Secure Act 2.0 on this strategy?
We haven't found any negative effects with Secure Act 2.0 at this time. I know our legal team is still kind of combing through everything as it kind of comes out. It's been trickled a little bit here with this and with that, but we haven't found any negative strategies associated with this at this time, no.
And then we have someone asking if you could just revisit that laddering strategy. They're asking, the Agility products are FIAs.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Agility, and with the partial Roth conversion. So like I said, what we do is we have the parent contract. So in this scenario, we'll assume that the client starts with $100,000 on the parent contract. And in year one, they convert $10,000 of that into a Roth fund. Now, what that's going to do, that's going to create contract 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be the parent contract. And then that's going to create a subcontract or a child contract 1, 2, 3, 4A. Now, with each conversion, it creates a new child contract within that same contract. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4A, B, C, etc. So basically what your clients can do is at the end of, that 10-year period when they've done the full conversion, they're going to have 10 different accounts all tied to that same parent account. And they can trigger, I want to trigger income on accounts 1, A through C. So that way they trigger the income there. Down the road, they say, oh, you know what, we need a little bit more money year in, year out. We want to get a bigger house. We want to do whatever it is. We're going to trigger accounts D and E as well. Now they still have the other 5 accounts that they can either trigger down the road if they need, again, another pay increase, or they can allow them to continue to grow and, have that benefit base continue to grow as well with it.
I think that covers all the questions in the Q&A.
Hey, Maureen, there's one we have a hand raised from, I'll just use his first name, Bill. Bill, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask your question.
All right, my question is, it concerns the slides. I saw somebody had asked that question, but I didn't hear that it was answered. Can we get a copy of the slides?
Okay, Alex, what do you think about that? Are the slides something we could share?
So I don't believe I can send out a hard copy of the slides itself. However, the presentation itself will be available on DMI University. So everything will be available there. I'll have to check with my compliance team to see for sure whether or not we can, but typically the answer to that is no.
Well, the main reason for that is that there's a lot of good sales examples there, just general information for people.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like I said, I'll check with my compliance team after here and confirm. However, typically the response to that has been no, we're unable to send out the slides for these presentations.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Bill, we'll get back to everybody regarding that. So if we do get clearance to pass it along, you'll be notified. Thanks for the question.
And we'll absolutely be sending everyone the webinar links and the materials that were mentioned during the presentation. And, anything that we find that would be applicable to this to help you, we'll make available.
Well, I appreciate everybody's engagement today. It was great. And Alex, excellent presentation. Thank you so much. Derek, I wonder if you had any thoughts, anything you wanted to add, or maybe just thank you or anything.
No, I think this is, fantastic information. Again, each of these is going to be taken on a case-by-case basis, and we'll look at each one. Yeah, I think, I'd like to thank Alex for his time and for the information. I think many people found it very useful. Thanks, Alex.
Hey, yeah, like I said, thank you guys for having me. Thank you to everyone who's in attendance. I really appreciate being a part of it. And if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself either.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Alex, Declan, Maureen, and everybody on the call. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out dmiuniversity.com. We've got Derek Easton's contact information up in front of you here. So grab a screenshot of that if you like. Also, just to let you know, May 3rd, we have another sales idea concept. It's going to help you to answer the 4 biggest retirement concerns of your clients. So we'll be sending you some invites around that. So look forward to seeing you on that next call. But other than that, guys, thank you so much. I'll close it there.